You were at the Battle of Savo, is that right? Yes. The Covenant had us pinned down in trenches. The fight went on so long we started to run out of ammo and grenades. Things seemed dire, very much so. What turned the tide? The Master Chief. I'll never forget the words he said that day. What did he say?
Fuck you, monkey! Taste my fucking balls. If you like this game, fuck you.
Oh. Halo 2, the sequel to Bungie's Halo Combat Evolved, is widely recognised as one of the most important games in FPS history. Its cinematic campaign and genre-defining multiplayer had a profound and lasting impact on shooters and console gaming as a whole. Following Halo 2's release, reception was generally very positive, but the one sticking point was the campaign, especially its ending. My criticisms from the last video are pretty much repeated verbatim by reviewers at the time, citing the sudden end with no resolution to many important plot threads. Despite this, a third game was a certainty, and the devs set to work immediately to craft a third and final game in the series that could wrap up those loose ends, show off the capabilities of Microsoft's new console, the Xbox 360, and finally, finish the fight. In 2007, after a $40 million marketing campaign, Halo 3 released, and set the world ablaze. Hi everyone, my name's Brommo, and today I'd like to talk about Halo 3. We did it, capping off the trilogy, Bungie's magnum opus, and for all anyone knew at the time, Master Chief's final journey. If you haven't seen them already, I've made 2 previous videos for Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 2, and I will be referring back to them periodically, so if you're interested, it'd probably be better to start with those. For those of you that have done your homework though, Ahead of Us is widely regarded as the pinnacle of the Halo franchise, a game I haven't played in around 6 years, so almost all of the plot details have faded from memory. With all that said, let's begin. We open on a starry night. The slow strings of the music draw us in as Cortana monologues about just how great the Master Chief is. She tells us that the UNSC let her pick which Spartan she'd be paired up with, and that the reason she picked Chief was that he possessed something that none of the others did.
Luck.
That's stupid. What? Luck? That's it? That's what we're going for?
Silly as I find that notion, given the events of the later Halo Reach, I suppose she was in fact correct in her assumption. But it looks like Chief's luck is about to run out, as he departs the Forerunner ship from last game and crashes down into a jungle. Hours later, Sergeant Johnson and some Marines pick over the crash site. It looks like the Chief is gone, but as Johnson reaches to retrieve Cortana from his helmet, he simply gets back up. 2-kilometer fall, no problem for John Halo. We go through another camera calibration and are reintroduced to Thelvadam, the Arbiter, as Johnson lets Chief know that the Arby is firmly on our side. I try in vain to turn down the frankly sickening amount of motion blur to no avail, so I'm forced to proceed through the most beautiful jungle the Xbox 360 can provide, whilst feeling like someone smeared a thin veneer of margarine on my monitor. We come to a clearing and see a golden armoured brute giving orders to a small squad, the brutes having replaced the elites as squad leaders after their betrayal at the tail end of Halo 2. We fight through the Covenant reinforcements, being introduced to one of the new features of the combat sandbox, the bubble shield, part of the equipment pool available to us this time around. Some metal grunt solid action ensues, cracking my magnum on the back of the sleepy grunts' heads. Into a cave, we get a vision or message from Cortana, and control is wrenched away from me as Chief slowly plods through the cave thinking about his favourite YouTuber. Down by the river, we are introduced to the suicide grunt, and a Marine almost kills me. I let him live as I'm in a good mood since Arbiter is here, and we dispense with some returning sniper jackals who don't feel so oppressive this time. We clear out more Covenant troops, acquire a sniper rifle, and see Johnson sequestered away by the brutes. I hit Alt-Tab by accident here, and if you're not a PC gamer like me, I'll illuminate you. The Master Chief Collection really doesn't enjoy being played in full screen, and if you do, and tab out, it freaks out and stops working, unable to be closed or stopped in Task Manager for like 5 minutes. The solution after like 20 seconds of googling is to just play in windowed borderless, but I didn't know that at the time, so I had to make do with a very temperamental window for a while. Something about the absolute computational fiasco removed the following footage from my hard drive, so you'll just have to use the power of imagination to understand what happens next. Arby and the Chief hop down onto the dam, kill loads of grunts, jackals and brutes, rescue Johnson, and extract via Pelican. See, that wasn't so hard. Things are not going the UNSC's way, as we see a shrouded jungle base replete with comedy-wounded Marines gawking at the arrival of Master Chief. Miranda Keyes is back from Halo 2 and is in command of at least this base, and greets Chief before taking him on a small tour, giving us the play-by-play of the war so far. We learn from Miranda that the Covenant glassed a few cities along the way, but have stopped in New Mombasa, where they've started digging. Chief is told about the end of Halo 2, where Keyes, Johnson and the Arbiter stopped the firing of Delta Halo, but that all the rings can now be activated from a central location called the Ark. Lord Hood joins the VC but is interrupted by the Prophet of Truth, who takes over all the screens and monologues at us, but I'm distracted by googling his voice actor because I thought I recognised him.
Is that Terrence Stamp? Surely I'm going to have to look that up now.
And I did. Keyes deduces that the Covenant have found their secret base and tells her men to move out, and it's our job to clear. Heading into a hangar, we wind through corridors very reminiscent of the Pillar of Autumn, and see a grunt solo a squad of Marines in a hawk. This encounter is more about me exploring the new and updated weapons, and so far they feel pretty good. It's more of a refinement of Halo 2's guns than the massive changes from 1 to 2, but guns feel good regardless. We endeavour to clear the hangar as Phantoms drop waves of Covenant troops, and I make more use of the detachable turrets new to this game. Once several waves have been dealt with, evac Pelicans can leave, and we're recalled to the Ops Center by Johnson. On the way back, a Marine suffers the fate of many a Dead Space NPC as he is killed by a drone behind unbreakable glass, and the drone's friends or siblings or whatever swarm around and are a bit of a pain to deal with, but once they're dead we get back to the Ops Center and see the plan for this base. Evacuate and detonate, with a series of bombs strewn throughout the complex. Brutes have taken the barracks however, so before we can leave we'll have to rescue them. Some only in Halo moments ensue before an unintentionally hilarious hallway stops me in my tracks.
What is this fucking Scooby-Doo ass hallway? One's gonna go like that now. Oh my god! Halo 3 shotgun, pretty strong. Literally sent that guy to the Shadow Realm.
We reunite with the Arbiter, trying in vain to reason with the drones and convince them of the Prophet's deception, and we proceed into the barracks to save the trapped Marines. Johnson radios to let us know that the brutes have taken the Ops Center and the big bomb. I lose a poor Marine to an evil elevator and have to defend a landing pad from jump pack brutes with the Arbiter's help. Landing pad cleared, Johnson and the Marines can evac while we go back to the Ops Center to rearm the bomb. On the way, I get super combined by a Needler grunt but press on through the embarrassment and reach the Ops Center just to embarrass myself again. We kill the brutes, arm the bomb, and tear ass towards an elevator to escape, backtracking through the same cave with some added foreshadowing.
What's going on? What's going on? What? I don't understand.
Back to the hangar from before, we get to the elevator and escape. At the bottom of the elevator lies a garage, filled to the brim with warthogs, and we saddle up with some Marines, ride through a cave system and out into the African bush, but no dangerous wildlife here, only Covenant death squads to contend with. The Marines are far more accurate with the minigun this time around, but if you let them drive, they'll tunnel vision on any enemies still alive and halt any forward progress you are making, so you should probably take the driver's seat.
Let's roll. Was I going the wrong way?
Heading towards the Savo Highway, my erstwhile Marine companion ditches our exploding hog. I quick peek some drones,
Fucking Cairo Station be like, ah.
and get the shield down so we can make our way through a tunnel. I fail my application to Red Bull's Extreme Sports Division and have to climb up a ladder and deal with the present enemies with a shotgun while outside of what I'd call optimal shotgun range. Reaching some more Marines, we hit a bread and butter 7th gen gaming encounter as waves of Phantoms drop off troops, and we defend the area with trip mines and what I'm going to call high velocity trip mines.
There you go, there's a more honest trip mine.
A fresh warthog is delivered and we make our way towards the town of Voi. A veritable swarm of brute choppers try and intercept us, and between them and the Wraiths, this encounter takes me about 10 actual minutes.
What the fuck?
Once that fun time is over, another tunnel shield awaits guarded by brutes, but once they're dispatched we rendezvous with Keys before heading inside.
He survived? The one shot? Okay, right, he dodged.
While labelled as a mission, this part is over quite quickly. It's more of a transition between Crow's Nest and the Storm, but it has enough classic Halo action that it feels quite reminiscent of Combat Evolved. Long sight lines, pockets of Marines in need of defence, and Covenant patrols dotted around a landscape that we primarily traverse with vehicles. It's pretty good. Our convoy heads out of the tunnel to destroy Covenant anti-air defences, which have taken the form of several Wraiths. I make use of the Magnum to clear out some grunts and jackals that with the 360's intense bloom have flashbang-like shields and move up. Getting in a ghost, we come out to a cliff face to destroy the first AA Wraith, which I dispatch with a missile launcher, and the second with a classic board and bomb manoeuvre. Carving through more troops, we hop on the new Mongoose ATV with a rocket launcher marine on the back and sally out, quickly killing our next Wraith, but getting flattened by a friendly hog and then road killed by a ghost. Wonderful. After a quick respawn, we go again. Mongooses and Hornets streaming around to clear the area. It's a very fun encounter. We're interrupted by a Scarab, returning from Halo 2 to cause us some problems, but the speed and the agility of the Mongoose means we can dart around firing rockets at it. And as long as you don't crash, roll over and have your marine evaporated, it's fairly easy to deal with.
Get on, get on!
I did in fact bin it though, so I had to take an elevator up high and dive onto the Scarab to blow it up from within. With that, all we have left to do is take out an anti-air cannon. Pushing through more Cortana slow walking and some brutes, we kill 2 hunters, a chieftain, and more as we come upon the cannon. Destroying the cannon is as easy as shooting its big glowing weak spot, and with it gone, Lord Hood's ships can bomb Truth's Forerunner's ship and end the war. This doesn't go as planned though, as a big blue light shines into the sky, sucking in human and Covenant ships alike into a big space portal. Things go from bad to worse though, as right on cue, a flood-infested dropship flies in and crashes nearby.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Terrific.
It did follow me home. This shit is not gas, Batman.
The atmosphere changes immediately. The sun-bathed African landscape darkens, an unsettling mist hangs in the air, and flood spores float around. Marines can be heard screaming over the radio, being picked off by the parasite, and infection and combat forms begin to rain down on us. We see the infection forms overtake a poor Marine's body, and shotgun and gravhammer in hand, we descend into a large hangar to fight the flood. We receive a message from Cortana, who is captured by the Gravemind. So I guess the only thing about the flood being here is that they've delivered the AI directly to us. I used the flamethrower here for a bit, but it cost the Arbiter his life, and me my keenly honed vision as the radioactive bloom almost kills me.
My god, the bloom. My fucking visual cortex is... It also might be on fire. Did I kill the Arbiter?
We are reinforced by friendly elites as they land to help us with the flood. I'm grateful for their help, but can't help but miss my dear Spec Ops commander. Here we're introduced to one of the flood's new tricks, a new form that can change between a big hulking monster and a slightly less big hulking monster that can climb on surfaces and shoot more accurately than the standard combat form. How fun. Making our way into the Covenant ship that the flood used to get here, Gravemind copies Cortana and stops us moving right in front of a dead Spec Ops elite with a missing jaw.
I've just got to check real quick. That's not... Ah! That's him! We killed him! What the fuck? Okay, this is the worst game ever made. I can't believe that. I cannot believe that. Fuck you, Bungie.
I was aghast that Bungie would kill off such a beloved character. Their depravity knows no bounds. I'm going to spoil it for you. I'm fairly certain Halo 2 Spec Ops Commander is actually the shipmaster we meet a bit later, and this is just a reused asset. So rejoice! Our half-jawed friend is probably not dead. Thank fuck. Hi guys, editing Bromo here. Good news. I'm on this awful fucking website, but Special Operations Commander of the Covenant is a high Covenant army position that commands all Special Operations Forces. The title of Spec Ops Commander. The only known commander, Ritas Vadume, so that's half-jaw, Ritas Vadum, was Sangheli, Spec Ops Commander of the Covenant Army before the Great Schism, and after the Great Schism he served as Shipmaster. We were right, he's alive! That's all. Like, the mutated infected ship is suitably disgusting. The wet flesh caking the walls and fungal looking spores are frankly gross. We find a terminal, see Cortana again, and reunite with 343 Guilty Spark, who offers to help Cortana and shows off his new laser, which I'm sure isn't some kind of Chekhov's heat ray or anything. We extract with Spark as the elites glass what's left of New Mombasa to control the outbreak. Spark fixes the terminal and a message from Cortana plays giving us our next mission. Get to the Ark and stop Truth from firing the rings. Lord Hood endeavours to stay on Earth and fight, while Keyes, Johnson and the Chief head to the portal. On the other side of the portal, we arrive at the Ark and are met with a Covenant blockade. Pelicans descend onto the Ark's surface. We depart with a squad of ODSTs and begin our mission to sabotage Covenant AA. Very reminiscent of the OG Truth and Reconciliation mission from Combat Evolved. We do some sniping, some counter-sniping, and one brute counters my ability to see for the next 6 hours with a flare.
What is happening? What is that?
I once again put some aliens in a montage and continue on. We commandeer a new brute vehicle and press forward towards AA defences and using the Dark Souls method of just running past most of the enemies. This section reminds me quite a bit of CE with its wide open canyons and ability to recon enemies before engaging. This section takes me several tries. The Wraiths are a constant pain and the disparate Covey squads provide consistent pressure, though not as much pressure as running out of ammo does. I give the final Wraith its deserved backshots. That's one of the worst things I've ever written. And the UNSC Forward Unto Dawn arrives, hand-delivering a Scorpion to backtrack towards the Cartographer with. Pretty much all Scorpion sections are created equal. We roll on towards our objective with Marines in tow, complications arise, ensue and are overcome, and we disembark to get to the Cartographer. Another Scarab awaits us just before we can get there, but a Gauss Hog might be just what we need. Before we can take the Scarab, we have to clear his little mates out, and I've rarely been so enamoured with railguns and so annoyed at a Marine. The Scarab stands at the end of this arena. A massive ramp tries to entice you, but it is a lie. I'm not sure what the AI situation is here, but this stupid fucker will not get close enough for long enough for you to reliably board it.
Hello. Oh, if only there was some way to move slightly faster, you know, like not like Warthog fast, but not as slow as running. Or like, you know, the walk that Chief does. If only I could move a little bit faster. Just a bit faster, you know? Not crazy fast, like faster than a jog, but slower than a hog, right? I'm sure they'll add that in a game later on. Do you know what? Fuck this guy. Oh. What? Yes! No! Why? Why? What do you mean balls in our court? Balls are in my mouth.
After a few minutes we force it and immediately die to a brute chopper and have to do the fight all again.
Like I gathered from the last time we saw the Scarab that you can just shoot its joints, right? Which is probably these glowing parts, but that's not as cool as boarding it. The boarding shouldn't be like down to luck, right? Like if you luck out and it's AI, fuck it, okay. Please get me away from here.
So we do, and we kill it. And I'm going to cut all the moulding I did here because it makes me look like a bit of a bitch, but rest assured it's at least 5 minutes worth. Guilty Spark leads us through the Ark's hallways towards the cartographer, but nothing else really of note happens, so we'll fast forward. My brother came in to show off his new shoes, so I missed the cutscene here, but the long and short of it is the same as the rest of the game. Stop Truth so he doesn't fire the rings and kill everyone. I then learn that brute chieftains are immune to their own grenades. Pick up my first mauler and accidentally interrupt some sort of brute rave where instead of take ecstasy and zone out in a corner, they try to beat me to death with a hammer, which isn't a million miles away from some of the raves I've been to. Molotovs and carbine in hand, we end the hard bass and Abby Bass enjoyers, and finally the mission comes to a close. For reference, the length of footage for each mission up to now hasn't really been over 25 minutes, but with the Ark, it's sitting pretty at 53. I'll make no bones here, I'm not great at Halo, and I didn't have my gamer gloves on, but fuck this mission. Took the wind out of my sails for a bit. In order to get to Truth, we have to deactivate 3 shield generators, and we're dropped off on the shore with the all-new Spartan laser to achieve just that. So far so silent cartographer, making our way up the shoreline and dealing with Covenant emplacements as we go. Though after boarding a Wraith, I'm jump scared by a brute with a fuel rod cannon. Reloading and dealing with the threats at range, we can press on, winning the staring contest with the chieftain second time around. We're gifted a hog for our success and set off for the first tower. We delve inside, quick peek a turret and don our cloak for some Ghost Recon Future Soldier action against an army of grunts. Reaching an elevator, I jump off for some equipment and almost softlock my game. The elevator leaving and not coming down for like 3 real minutes, but it does eventually return, and one more brute gauntlet awaits. Brutes squashed, we deactivate the generator but are told that Johnson's squad were unable to deactivate theirs, and we'll need to go wipe their proverbial arses for them. To reach the final tower, we're gifted a Hornet, and the Ace Combat fan in me revels in the delight of air-to-air action. Landing at the final tower, we get inside, hammer some brutes, hide from hunters and drones, and skirt nervously around the arena, gravity hammer in hand. Another elevator, another brute gauntlet, a shit CSGO reference,
Mollied mid,
and we've deactivated the final tower. The shipmaster moves to Glass Truth and his mates, but High Charity interrupts and downs the elite's capital ship, scuppering our plan and leaving us to fight the flood as well. One of their new tricks is dropping big pods down filled with combat forms, which is, I can assure you, very fun. Onto a mongoose with a rocket marine and onto a classic Halo snowy canyon, we speed past Covenant troops and lay eyes on Truth's location, the Citadel. Some asshole clenching turns follow, I get rolled over by 2 ghosts, hijack another ghost, and come upon 2 scarabs to fight this time. Wonderful. This encounter is exactly the same as the last scarab fight, but this time the friendlies are somehow dumber, and there's 2 scarabs that don't get close enough to the ramps to reliably board. This fight takes like 10 actual minutes. I try again and again and again, and I think it's designed around the mongoose or the warthog, but the marine passenger got himself killed and my mongoose blown up, so I'm stuck with a ghost. I go on a very long-winded rant and say some things I don't mean.
It's supposed to be this cool, epic moment, and instead it's just fucking frustrating, you know? It reminds you that it's a game in the worst possible way. Like just there, I'm like, Bungie, you know, I'm thinking about the fact that this is a piece of art that was designed and not just experiencing a story. Like I don't feel like Master Chief here. I feel like Brommo sat in his fucking room when it's too hot. I don't get fucking pissed off. Why haven't, fuck equipment, man, fuck you if you like this game, fuck you. Stupid fucking piece of shit. Honestly, mate, go fuck yourself. Oh, Chris, you should do Legendary. You should play on Legendary, bro. Yeah, fuck off. Dog shit game. The only reason you liked it was because it came out in 2007 and there was nothing else to fucking play. It is insane to me how much better COD 4 is than this. Yeah, okay, we're gonna come back to this.
But eventually, after a good sleep and an angry wank, God's grace shines upon me, and both scarabs are downed. We head inside the Citadel to confront Truth and see that the Prophet has captured Johnson to force him to fire the rings. Before he can do that, Keyes crashes into the dais, realizes she has to kill Johnson, but is shot and killed by Truth before she can halt his plans. Arby and the Chief are reinforced by Gravemind and his mates as we head towards Truth and Johnson across several bridges, just bedecked with brutes and grunts. It is kind of cool to fight alongside the Flood here, seeing infection forms run at your feet and convert the bodies of brutes you kill, but everyone present knows how this ends. For now, let's deal with the Prophet. Gravemind is already taking over truth, but the Arbiter gets his revenge as Chief stops the rings from firing. With the Covenant thwarted, we in the Flood are back to being on poor terms, fighting back along the bridges to escape the parasite. Who could have seen this coming? Sentinels arrive to help us trudge through the Flood, who so far are, I will admit, less annoying, and Chief is guided by visions of Cortana to a console that reveals a new Halo ring being produced to replace the one we blew up at the end of Combat Evolved. Blowing up this ring would kill all of the Flood and destroy the Ark, so no other Halos can be built. But Guilty Spark tells us that it will take time to make a new activation index. But we don't need one, because if you remember Combat Evolved's story, then you will know that Cortana already has one. So we need to get her out of high charity, blow up the ring, blow up the Ark, and save the day. Piece of piss. But before we do that, let's do our traditional halt all momentum and talk about the combat trick. Halo 3's guns are generally very similar to Halo 2, and the combat sandbox in general feels more like a refinement of 2's encounter design, namely more arenas and fewer Combat Evolved style wide-ranging areas. Those are still present in 3, but it's more like 3 missions, so the focus is clear. I'm not going to go gun by gun here as there are like 20 and we've done this before, but we'll talk more generally about combat. The basic Halo distinction of ballistic and energy weapons still exist, but given that most brutes have power armor that just pops off once enough damage has been done, on normal it's not really as important as it was before. The plasma pistol is still a gold star champ at removing their armor, but more than ever you can just brute force it, and you'd suffer few consequences. While on the topic of brutes, they are far more fun to fight than their Halo 2 incarnation. Gone are the days of them being absolute bullet sponges, and their squad commander role and propensity to get real mad and charge at you once their armor breaks makes them much more similar to the elites of old, though I find the dirty, smelly monkey men much less charming as an adversary than the noble splitlet. And this new biker aesthetic, while nicely distinguishing them from both the elites and their previous Wookiee look, doesn't do much for me. Back to guns, I found myself gravitating quite a bit to the brute spiker this time around. Fast firing and packing a serious melee punch made it quite the crutch in the game's many close quarters arenas. Fighting Covenant, given the brute's changes, is back to being the most fun part of the game. Despite the closer environments and the only sore spot in enemy design being drones, the Covies are more than a worthy enemy, and choosing different weapons and equipment based on the composition of each squad is as fun and engaging as ever. Speaking of equipment, despite being the cool new feature for this game and expanding on the active camo from Halo 2, it leaves something to be desired. I rarely went into a fight planning to use whatever equipment I had accidentally picked up, and even more rarely did it make a meaningful difference in a tough fight. Instead, I'd often be dual-wielding maulers or something daft like that and accidentally hit shift, throwing my bubble shield or a grav lift or something, dropping my second gun and ruining any momentum I had. The brute use of equipment though, there were times in my playthrough that really started to get to me. So many times I'd be engaging in some classic Halo surveil, plan, execute action where I'd ping a shot or two off at a brute and in response he'd just chuck down a shield and hide inside it. Or throw out a flare and flashbang me while I played in the dark at 2 in the morning. The problem is, there's no immediate counterplay to this. You either just have to wait for the equipment to expire or go in and sort it out yourself. It isn't an interesting wrinkle to throw at your plans, it's a regrettably predictable bit of busy work that stops whatever cool idea you had in mind. I'm not really a fan of equipment, or at least its implementation here. As is tradition, it's time to talk about the Flood. I will admit they aren't as dick-flattening as Halo 1 or as boring as Halo 2, but especially in the final few missions, the admirable attempt to shake up the Flood's enemy design falls flat, as the shapeshifters, generally being good targets to take out first, are simply too tanky. And with all the other combat and infection forms charging at you, it simply isn't feasible to fight them the way you do the Covenant. Combat forms seem to be working on some invisible switch where one moment they'll bum rush you, and then like a raccoon or something they'll get spooked and try and run for cover, seemingly for no reason. All of this compounds with the sheer number of the fuckers you have to fight, especially in the last mission, so much so that they remain the weak link in the chain of combat for me. Scarabs can also get fucked. Alone in high charity, we wind through the wet, fleshy halls towards our simulated AI girlfriend, fending off everything Gravemind can bring to bear, even Bible quotes. Terrifying to some, I'm sure, but I have far too much Reddit karma to be concerned about religious symbolism. Fuck. I wrote this like 4 months ago and I completely forgot I put that in. Alone in high charity, we wind through the wet, fleshy halls towards our simulated AI girlfriend, fending off everything Gravemind can bring to bear, even Bible quotes. Terrifying to some, I'm sure, but I have far too much Reddit karma to be concerned about religious symbolism. The tide of flood proves quite difficult to dispense, but a grav hammer, grenades, and an SMG finally do the job. Gravemind and Cortana have a competition to see who can hold me in place the longest while performing slam poetry. I kill more flood using the energy sword as my grav hammer runs out of power, and the incessant voiceover drives me a bit mental. I'm going to abridge this next section here, but rest assured if you haven't played Halo 3, imagine walking down the inside of an enormous fleshlight for 20 minutes fighting horrible mutants and you get the gist. More flood fighting, corridor walk in action, and we arrive at some sort of antechamber swarming with forms old and new. Getting through that proves to be a challenge, but once we do, we finally find Cortana. And to be honest, she's kind of pissed me off so far this game. I don't really even care about her that much. Oh, she's sad. Oh. So, bad news, now we have to backtrack through high charity to escape. Gravemind has a bit of a normal one. We blow up the reactor and skedaddle out of Dodge. Arbiter mercifully arrives to help us escape. We board a Pelican to get the fuck off this ship city thing before it pops. We head towards the new Halo to blow it and come full circle. A snowy canyon greets us on entry as we head towards the control center, and Gravemind throws everything he has at us to prevent the firing of the ring, including combat forms with guns, with swords, and with grav hammers. The sheer scale of this fight beggars belief. An absolute hail of flood fall from the sky and rush towards us. Classic combat forms as well as the new shape-shifting ones, sticking to walls and firing spikes with annoying accuracy. Johnson reinforces us carrying a Spartan laser, but all the tension and excitement is sucked out of the encounter as my brother comes in to show off his new controller and ask, hat in hand, how to change the sticks out. Bless him.
Oh bro, I was getting the whole thing out and trying to fucking pull it off and I was like, nah, that's gonna break. Oh, my hair it's not as it's not magnetic, it's just friction.
Spark needs time to open the door, so a wave defense segment follows with just a staggering number of enemies. But we push through towards the control center, give Cortana to Johnson, and prepare to detonate Halo. Johnson moves to activate the ring, but is cut down by the monitor, and a boss fight ensues. We dodge laser blasts and get to Johnson, who gives us his Spartan laser, and 3 shots is in fact the magic number. Spark is destroyed, but not soon enough to save our friend Sergeant Johnson. As the light fades from his eyes, we take Cortana back. She activates the ring, and it's time to go. In a rare moment of tenderness, the Arbiter expresses his sympathies for the loss of one of our oldest and truest friends. But there will be time to grieve later, as right now we need to get to the Forward Unto Dawn and escape. The Flood and Sentinels both try to stop us, but you and I know how this goes, once we get in a Warthog and that classic theme starts playing. The music blares as panels in the floor crack and explode. The ring itself tears apart around us. Small squads try and halt our progress, but it's all in vain, as with one final jump, we land in the Dawn's hangar, plug Cortana in, and start our engines. The ring explodes, taking the Ark with it, but the blast reaches the Dawn, halving the ship, letting the Arbiter escape back to Earth, but stranding Cortana and the Chief deep in space. Lord Hood holds a vigil for the fallen, and while he's convinced that the Chief is dead, Arbiter knows that Spartans don't die, they just go missing in action. A new era of human and elite cooperation awaits, freed from the lies and dogma of the Covenant and the infestation of the Flood. We cut back to the Chief, climbing into a cryopod to end just how we started, and tells Cortana to wake him when we need him. So, that's Halo 3. Only took me a few months. This game, perhaps controversially, is pretty good. I didn't attach and bond to most of the characters throughout the series, so it wasn't life-changing for me. But Halo 3 really feels like a perfection of everything Bungie had put into the franchise beforehand, and all the elements, gameplay, story and music culminate into a fitting capstone for this beloved franchise. The stylistic shift as the games have progressed is really interesting to me. Combat Evolved was 100% sci-fi mystery, whereas 2 and 3 were firmly and completely war stories, much more Saving Private Brommo than they were 2001. I do still prefer mystery and thriller to outright action, but there's something to be said for how Halo 3 managed to near flawlessly execute its war story. The action and pacing is non-stop, but it doesn't feel rushed or contrived. It's a natural ramp-up as we near the end of the Human Covenant War. Negativity bias is a hell of a drug, and as I cast my mind back through playing these 3 games, I know that it was some of the most fun I've had in single player in years. There's a reason Halo endures today through all of the mismanagement and tribulations it's suffered since Bungie left Microsoft. I neglected to mention multiplayer or Forge here, despite those being a lot of the real meat behind Halo's legacy and success. I have played a fair bit with my friends, some of them card-carrying Halo superfans, and I know that there is an entire bloodline that has been waiting to hear what I think of this game. The first half of Combat Evolved is my favourite game of the trilogy. What can I say? I love a sci-fi mystery. But in terms of replayability and the cohesion between story events and character motivations, 3 feels like the most polished, shining example of both the series and 7th gen console gaming as a whole. I'll still take COD 4 over it any day, but that's an argument for another time. Some time ago, Twitter was filled with discussion about the most important games ever, and while Halo came up a lot, many people were deriding the series when compared to Half-Life and the original Doom. But after finishing this trilogy, I have to disagree. Video games, perhaps more than any other art form, are iterative in nature. Since the days of Pong and Asteroid, every few years there has been a revolution in gaming technology, and with consoles, almost every generation provides a seismic change in what developers can achieve, graphically, visually, or mechanically. While Half-Life pioneered a story-driven campaign with voice acting and recognizable characters in 1998, its basis resided firmly in the bones of games similarly pioneered by id Software's Quake, which in turn was the first of id's true 3D games after they had established the first-person shooter genre with Wolfenstein 3D and solidified it with Doom. Many other developers were tackling FPS design at this time. Doom's success on the shareware market showed a clear interest in shooters, and many studios set to work iterating on its designs and mechanics. 3D Realms took their side-scrolling series Duke Nukem and brought the Duke into 3D with the build engine that put the player in much more real-world environments than Doom's labyrinthine military bases and, well, literal hell. Monolith created Blood, my favourite of the so-called boomer shooters that has you fight through similarly recognisable stages like churches and even a train, but with that haunting devilish flair that Duke 3D and its alien invasion setting lacked. Another studio that took a crack at early FPS was Bungie, who after making Pathways into Darkness released Marathon, a science fiction shooter where the player controls a Mjolnir-designated cyborg and has to fight an army consisting of multiple alien races bound under one flag, all the while being helped out by an artificial intelligence named after a mythical sword. Anyway, all of these games came out just before Half-Life, which proved that not only was it possible for PC games to have voice-acted story moments to further the plot instead of just text on a screen, but its reception proved that gamers would actually like that. So when Halo came along in 2001, it shook up what was possible for console shooters. Its invention, or at least popularization, of aim assist and bullet magnetism made up for the lack of precision inherent to analog sticks, and the story-focused, sandbox-based campaign was an instant hit. Despite Halo 2's rushed development, it too had a massive impact on gaming. If you've played a first-person shooter made after 2004, you have felt the influence of Halo 2's arena design, even if you didn't know it. So yes, I believe that Halo stands among the titans of Doom, Quake and Half-Life for influential video games of all time, whatever that really means. We now live in an age where publishers and corporations can unbuy games from you by turning off servers and removing access. We are basically forced to rent games from publishers, either literally through things like Game Pass or PS Plus, or more metaphorically, like with most of 2K's games where they just fucking turn them off after 2 years. Halo 3 is that shining example of games made for their artistic merit. The developers had a story to tell, and tell it they did. no matter what Microsoft do to this franchise, or even this game, if indeed they turn off the Master Chief Collection or send a fucking Reddit Agent 47 to my house to cut my Wi-Fi, one thing they can't take away is my memory. Staying up into the early hours of the morning, reliving moments with my friends of playing this mission or that before, recognizing set pieces and music tracks I've seen or heard in other videos, learning to use video editing software and being inspired by these games to start a YouTube channel and project my thoughts and feelings into this cold, uncaring void of content creation. In all likelihood, this channel will go nowhere. It'll stay with my small circle of friends and we can all laugh and argue about my hot takes for beloved franchises. But whatever happened, Halo gave it to me. And I will treasure these memories for as long as I am able. And if that's not the perfect crystallization of how art affects us, I'm not really sure what is. If you like games and have a machine capable of running the Halo games, I strongly recommend them. I'd go as far as to say you are depriving yourself of one of the best war stories put to screen in gaming if you haven't played them. We did it! All 3 OG Halo games done and dusted. I have no intention of making a video on ODST or Reach for a long time. I'm very burnt out on Halo at the minute, but I have no regrets. Except maybe getting distracted by Rivals, Siege, Valorant and Sea of Thieves of all things, and playing those instead of making this video, and taking literally months to do it. I'm not sure what's next. I don't feel up to another series or franchise just yet, and the games I've played most recently don't lend themselves too well to this style of video essay. So who knows what's next. But until then, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.